What are the most complex and most common Social Security questions ever asked? Hi, I'm Doug Ray, President and founder of the Wealth Guardians and the Ray Financial Group.
And I'm Hamilton Morales, and you've entered The Vault, the Wealth Guardians video series on all things pertaining to retirement planning. In this episode, we're going to cover the most common Social Security questions normally asked, and also the most complicated Social Security situations that I have, Hamilton Morales, been stumped by. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below. Okay, let's get started.
Yeah, Hamilton, thanks for being here. If you've listened to our radio show for any period of time, you know Hamilton, I always refer to him as my living, breathing, walking, talking encyclopedia of all things Social Security. Hamilton is a Social Security advisor to financial advisors like myself all over the country. So he catches questions every single day about Social Security. And I'll tell you what, Bryce and Garrett and I know Social Security pretty doggone well, but whenever one of you stumps up with a question, guess what? I go to Hamilton. And Hamilton, glad to have you here today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so let's start by this. Let me ask you, what is the most common question that comes into your office every day?
Yeah, bar none, it has to do with spousal benefits.
Yeah.
And it's even getting more and more now with some of the rule changes that have been completed, if you will. The Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015 made some changes to some things that we could do. And one of those changes is the ability for the spouse to file for spousal only benefits and let their benefits continue to grow until age 70. And that's called a restricted application. And so for those people able to do that, were those people born up to 1953. Anybody born after 1953 will no longer be able to do that. Well, guess what? People born in 1953, they're turning 70 this year.
That's exactly right. So
that's pretty much
point.
out of the realm of possibility. But that doesn't mean that there's not spousal benefits anymore. They're just a little bit different. And that's where a lot of the confusion comes in is how do those work?
Yeah. You know, one of the things that we always do for our clients when they come in and we start doing the retirement planning is we always bring Social Security into the mix. We have the tools and the software to optimize your Social Security, meaning that what we want to do, if it's right for you, is to get as much dollar benefit out of the system in your life expectancy. All right, so let's talk about this question. What was the most complex, tough question that a financial advisor called you up one day and said, Hamilton, I've run across this situation.
What do I do?
Yeah, what do I do?
Yeah, I'll tell you, anytime you're dealing with the railroad pensions, those are very, very complicated, and because they're very similar to Social Security, and sometimes you have guys that qualify for the railroad pension, and they also qualify for Social Security, but they can only get one or the other.
Oh.
And there's a tier 1, there's a tier 2, and it's very complicated. And so fortunately for those people, dealing with the railroad administration is actually a pleasant thing. They can pick up the phone, they can call them. The people they talk to are very, very knowledgeable. So thank goodness I don't have to really dive into that because it's very complex. And again, depending if they're tier 1, tier 2, if they've got a spouse, how does that work? It gets real fun real quick.
You know, that almost to me sounds like the federal government pension and Social Security and how they reduce one or the other. Is that anywhere close to it?
No, not really. Not when you're dealing with the railroad, but you do have those people out there that do work for the state or work for the federal government. and they don't pay into Social Security. They pay into a pension instead. And those people fall underneath what's called the windfall elimination provision.
The WEP.
And then also the government pension offset, which has to do with their ability to qualify for spousal and or widow's benefits. So that could be very difficult for those people because they know there's going to be a reduction. They know something's going to happen, but nobody can tell them what and what it's going to look like. Well, fortunately, we can.
Yeah, we can. You know, the thing that I have found interesting in the years I've been teaching Social Security to folks, I think everybody understands that the longer you wait, the more you're going to get, called delayed credits.
Right.
Plus, there's the cost of living adjustment along with that. One of the things that I have been trying to combat over the years that people come to me as a pushback as they say, well, when I turn 62, I'm going to take my benefit now because there's no guarantee it's going to be there in 5 or 10 years. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's great. You know, I hear that all the time as well. And there is the department OASDI. They have their meetings every year, and they look at the health of Medicare and Social Security disability and Social Security. And right now, I believe, I'm trying to think real quick, it bounces back to 2034, 2035. If nothing is done by then, they'll have enough to pay roughly 75 to 77 cents on the dollar. Honestly, I don't believe it'll get to that point. I believe they'll make changes. The problem is you're talking about politicians. And the first thing a politician wants to do when they get into office is to get reelected. And I can promise you, working on Social Security will not get them reelected because you can't make everybody happy.
It is a hot potato.
It is hot, but eventually it's going to happen. They're going to have to make some really tough decisions. And I believe those born after 1960 are going to be the ones that are going to feel the brunt of it, a lot of the changes that are going to be coming down the pipe.
Well, right now, the payroll tax on Social Security gets capped once you go over a certain level of income. I think, what's it, 140 something this year?
Actually, I think it went up to 160
something? Okay.
like that.
So Medicare, on the other hand, is unlimited. I mean, you can make millions and millions and millions, and they're still going to take the payroll tax out on Medicare. What would happen if they decided to do that with the Social Security tax?
I will tell you this. I think that is one. I don't know if it'll actually fix the problem, but it will definitely give us many, many more years before we have to deal with it. Why they stop taking the Social Security out of your paycheck once you hit a certain income per year doesn't make sense to me. Now, they go up every year, but to me, if you're working and you're earning an income, you should be paying it. And I think that would go a long way in helping the situation. Again, I don't think it'll fix it, but it would definitely help.
And you know, some people might not know this, but you as an employee pay half of your Social Security, but your employer pays the other half.
Correct.
And in my case, since I am both, I pay the full ride.
You get to pay both. Yeah, you get to pay both. And the nice thing, the one nice thing is it hasn't changed as far as the percentage. It's been locked in for quite some time now, which is nice. But you're right. When you're self-employed, you've got to pay in on both ends of the spectrum.
You sure do. You know, everybody's turning 62 now every day this year or next year and so forth. That's why we do these workshops. Several times a year, we'll do a Social Security workshop. And the last 3 or 4 years, we've been fortunate enough to secure Hamilton to come in and end our season of workshops in November with his version of a Social Security workshop. And I love the way he does it. It's kind of a town hall meeting, so he gets the folks involved. Everybody out there is asking questions, and it's really funny to watch Hamilton because at first you can see they're hesitant,
very hesitant.
But once 1 or 2 people ask a question, that ball starts rolling.
It's like a snowball. And I will say we've had a lot of good times doing these seminars because I've done the typical presentation, PowerPoint, and there's been a couple times where we've sat up there together and kind of bounced off of each other talking about Social Security. But I think the last couple of them have been the best from the standpoint of a real Q&A, town hall type of a thing where they're firing questions and I'm able to answer those, and it really gives them an insight of just things to think about as it relates to retirement, and then when should I turn it on? How's that going to look? What other things do I need to look at? Things like that.
Sometimes in presentations you need a PowerPoint, you need some graphs, but I really like to be up there and just get the audience informed and get them into the program with questions. And I think that's the way people learn the best.
I completely agree with that. And they're probably going to ask the question somebody else is thinking of.
Exactly.
So it works out good.
Well, if you're sitting out there watching this vault and you have a Social Security question, please call us and ask. That number's on the screen. It's 336-391-3409. Hamilton, thanks for coming in here. I had fun doing this.
I guess that's a wrap up if we don't have any more questions, right?
There's
There's tons of questions out there,
Yes,
I'm sure, but we are limited in time. But hey, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button to catch all the future episodes. And remember, the markets aren't all going to wait for you.